In your working folder, you should see, no, you will see, a document called Isolation Mode. If you'd like to play along, hope you do. Why don't you open that one up? Now, we're talking about a feature inside of Adobe Illustrator that's called Isolation Mode. It's a unique way to get to individual pieces within groups that's different than just selecting out. For example, I've got two examples here, this one and this one over here. This one is a whole bunch of groups. It's groups within groups within groups within groups within groups. I could keep on going. There's quite a few groups. These are just 4 stars inside of a group. So they've been grouped together all by themselves. Now we know that I can pick up, for example, my direct selection tool right here, and I can come over here and select one of those stars. I can move it around, I can play with it, do whatever I want. And if I go back to my regular selection tool, basically there's still a group. Now, isolation mode. Now, I alluded to it in an earlier lesson in this chapter, but let's dig a little deeper here. If I double-click on this set, this group, I go into what's called isolation mode. Now, the screen does gray out. If I come up to one of these now and select it, I can move it, rearrange it. In the grayed out areas, think of it this way. The grayed out areas are telling you this stuff is isolated. Okay, it's isolated. And you'll notice up here we have like this breadcrumb trail. Every time we click, if we had a lot of complicated groups, you'd see more trails come up here. If I double click again on one of the stars, notice what happens. Everything grays out except that one star, which gives me complete control just on that one star. Now, if I come back out here and click and then come over here, we can back down the bunny trail until we get all the way out, or you can press the escape key, and basically they are still in a group. Now, if it's as simple as this group, it's not really much going on, really. Let's say over here, I want to work on this newspaper, but I don't want to do, say, well, let me show you this. Let me come over here and pick up my direct selection tool. Now, it means I can come over here and select pieces. If I pick up the group selection tool, watch what happens. I click here once, there's a piece. Twice, remember, grouping within grouping within grouping. 3 clicks and I've got it. So it took 3 clicks. I've got 3 groups. I can then move it out because there are arms in the way, and I can work on it. But that means I have to move it back in and make sure I get it exactly where it's supposed to be. So check this out. Let's come back over here and pick up our regular old selection tool. Come over here and double click. Okay, double click again. Notice what happened? Not only did it gray out everything except the paper, which means I can now work on it if I want to, pick up pieces of it, change things, change colors, but it put the paper in front of her arm. That's the important thing to me. It isolated the paper. I can work on the paper. I don't have to move the paper. And when I come back out, say to here, press the escape key, I'm right back to the way I was before. That's isolation mode, and it makes more sense when you're working on something complicated. Let's come up here to the beret, and if I double click, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Well, it took 4 clicks to get there. You're not always going to get there, say, on just 1 or 2, but now I have the ability to select areas within here and, well, change them. Come over here and give it a different color. Kind of, almost looks like a bicycle helmet, I think. Let's make that just a little bit of a different color just to prove we can. And then we come back out here, press escape, and we've changed the color of just that one area. Isolation mode is more valuable when you're working on really complicated objects. It's not as valuable, I would say, over here, although it does work. But don't forget, you have the ability in a complicated object to pull something out, bring it to the front, and make changes to it using isolation mode.